God be with you.
I'd like to learn to read.
You? You don't look like the make. Bear in mind, it won't be all that easy.
All right.
Very well. I will require some groschen from you, though, and set aside at least a...
Here are your groschen.
Then we may as well start. He did break his vow, but better than to dishonor it here. May he follow his heart. Wake up, lad. It's time we were getting on. So, let's see you read a bit. There's a book here on the table. Try to read it.
Will I manage?
You ought to be able to. It's a simple text. Come back once you've worked your way through it.
I've read the book.
Wonderful. So tell me, what...
That being greedy doesn't pay.
Excellent. You're one of my most talented pupils. Like I told you, books are valuable. And the words...
Does that mean that I can read?
Yes, you have the foundation. Remember, my boy, the pen is mightier than the sword. Now we'll move on to the second lesson, which will be much harder. Many books are written in Latin. There's a book on the table with some text. Read it and then come back.
I only just managed the fable about the goose, and now you're asking...
You're a clever...
I read the page.
So tell me.
Nullus est liber.
Good heavens! Don't tell me you haven't...
Thank you.
I'm looking for a fellow who lives here, but I don't...
Must be that farmhand Lubosh.
Move along, citizens. Move along. There's nothing to see here.
That's what you call nothing to see. I'd like to know what something to see looks like.
By the keys of St. Peter, this is all I need. We'll have to send word to Sir Hanush.
That might not be necessary.
Who are you?
I'm Henry of Skalitz, in the service of Hanish's Captain Bernard. I'm investigating the attack at Neuhof, and I think this could be related.
Well, I'm the bailiff of Auschwitz. And I say we don't want any of that kind of trouble around here. What makes you think this has anything to do with Neuhof?
One of the folk at the stud farm recognized someone from Auschwitz among the bandits.
We have no bandits or murderers around here.
Really? They say he had a limp?
Shit. Well, allow me to introduce you to Limpy Lubosh. Or all that's left of him.
Sacre. Nothing's ever easy. I'll have to take a look around and ask a few more questions, if that's all right with you.
You can take this mess off my hands and welcome to it. As for what else there is to find out, I don't know. But look and ask all you like.
Who was Limpy Lubosh?
He kept coming.
Has he been up to any...
I don't know.
Do you happen to know...
I've no idea.
When did you find him?
Just now. And nobody saw or heard anything. I don't know how they could...
I've come in the name of Sir Hanish of Lipa. I'm investigating the massacre in Neuhof.
I don't know how I can help you.
Who was this Lub?
You could see at first glance
Have you noticed anything?
there wasn't sight or sound of him for a long time. And then yesterday, he turned up at the church and even talked to the parish.
That's all. The blessings of our good Lord be with you, Father. Can I ask you a few questions?
It seems Sir Hanosh is employing children as investigators. But ask as you wish.
Did you know Lubosh? What was he like?
Bit of a lost soul. Simple.
Did you notice anything suspicious recently?
My child. All sorts of suspicious things have been going on recently.
That's really not a lot of help to me, Father.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Do you know what Lubosh was doing on the day Neuhoff was raided?
Unfortunately, I do know. And I'd like...
What?
I'm bound by certain vows that forbid me to...
Vows more important than catching dangerous murderers?
There are laws of God above the laws of man.
Father, surely you can't be serious. There must be situations in which you can...
There are things that apply always, no matter what the circumstances.
I've got no time for this. You might be happy to put people's lives at risk, but I refuse to, and I'll get that confession out of you by force if I have to.
You're threatening me. You want to fight me? Well, I never.
All right, let's...
Well, I have to admit you're good. Either way, you think you'll get confessional secrets out of me? You can hammer me to death if you like. But the sanctity... I do want to help you, though. So come to the tavern in the evening. I'm sorry I can't tell you everything, but maybe we can work something out. But first, I'd like to hear something about you, my son. With whom?
I'm from Skalitz.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I don't want to talk about it.
I understand. It must have been terrible. And how did you come to get this assignment? I'd have expected Sir Hanish...
He did, but I found a witness and the trail led here to Ujit, so he sent me here to follow.
Ah, well, congratulations. It's nice to see someone using their head to find... Now the most important thing. What actually happened in Noyle?
The rumors aren't exaggerated this time, unfortunately. The Neuhoff stud farm was raided by bandits, but they didn't come to pillage or even take the horses. I'm sure they would have killed more, but the bandits quarreled among themselves and broke off the attack. And judging by what's left of our loot...
I see it's every bit as bad as people claimed. Well then, here's to those poor souls who had to die so pointless.
I've told you all about me. Now it's your turn, Father. Well, we've had an agreeable chat, but now... So, about this confessional seal.
Henry, that's not how it works. There are matters in which you can't... If people stop believing in the church because their confessional secrets are betrayed, they won't trust it.
I understand, but that means I've reached a dead end. Those...
Chin up, lad. I might have a solution.
What?
If I tell you what Lubosh told me, I'd be betraying the confessional secret. But...
Word of honor?
On my soul.
I always wondered about the things a priest tells his congregation.
Well, Ujits isn't Prague. It's not enough to instruct people. They have to be entertained.
Our priest wasn't exactly a butt.
It has to be something topical. Condemning vices. And of course, the tongue lashing about the two popes goes down well these days. And stories from real life with a nice moral to them. Especially if they're about fornication and similar scandalous vices.
Can you give me an example?
Well, recently a priest by the name of Jan Hus started I hear he always has a full house. A journeyman who heard him told me what Hus is preaching. I'm thinking about putting it in my own repertoire.
What's so amazing about it?
The preaching of Master Jan Hus, the lamentable wealth in which the church is drowned. Just like a flock of hungry ravens, they settled on this land to They know no mercy. Their hearts are corrupted by longing. You want to baptize a child? Pay. What if the devil himself were to pay? Would he ascend to heaven too? With such money gained from the poor, they buy beautiful horses to ride, while Jesus Christ walked barefoot and had no... Look to your consciences, you Amen!
Well, this Jan Hus character is quite a rebel.
Oh, the congregational look.
I don't doubt it.
Let's drink to that.
Funny.
What do you mean? My situation's completely different. Huth preaches against the prelates and the clerics who are robbing the poor. Look at me. I'm one with them in poverty and suffering and everything that troubles them. I drink with them and curse them.
Where can I find out more?
Do you like it? I copied down some of his sermons. If you're interested.
What do the common folk?
They like it. They're happy to hear someone say what they think themselves. In a few years, it'll have grown beyond control.
Yeah, unless they burn him.
Nonsense. They can't burn a master of the...
Thanks for the sermon, but I think I've been more... it's getting quite late.
What do you suppose? We haven't...
Ah, that sounds like a good plan.
I knew you wouldn't let me down.
Przyszła bida mora lat, to nie ustoi żadnej chlap. Na kraj padł dziesnej smutek, do dnielo i rano utek, niech już małżeński majstrak, do wczera żylne staje prak. Už sejmoj svatý muži, nechtěl bych bejbě i kůži. Nám je to jedno a tak si dáme jedno a požadem si huby jako poslední den. Půjďme se vámi, ano ráda slávy, a tak vypal sudy a posaď se mi sem. Tak posaď se sem a vypal je ven. Ukaž kozy jako vozy, zítra jen tu soudnej den, tak nalej mi hned, ať točí se svět.
Enough of this! Bailiff! Come on over here, sit down and have a drink with us.
Don't vex me again, Father. It's 3 hours past dusk, and curfew is long gone.
So what?
So, I'll have you all whipped and put in the stocks, and I'll write a letter to the bishop about you, priest.
Well, nothing to worry about then. Everyone knows the only one around here who can ride is me.
Enough! Men, throw them out.
Oh, come on. You looking for a fight?
Henry, back me up.
What's up? That. Shit yourself. Come here, lily liver.
No curva.
You call that combat?
So, my dear, would you like to have a little ring on the bell? Closer said than done.
I'd love to. And Henry, too, I'm sure. Right, Henry?
Stop that nonsense, Godwin. Are you out of your mind? What will people say?
They can say what they like. What do I care? What do they do to me? Watch the step, my dears. Careful, you don't hurt yourself.
Godwin, you're a buffoon.
Here we are. Look at this beauty.
Oh. We can't do this, can we?
Who says? Get ringing, wench.
This is wonderful.
Ah, bloody oath. And now, my dears, comes the climax of the evening.
Godwin, you old goat.
Come here. Oh.
The priest has mounted up. What do you say, Henry? Shall we take a little ride of our own?
Well, I have to say that was a fine evening.
Godwin, you beast. Get up. Do you hear me? Wake up, you drunkards!
Oh, fucking hell. Where the... Oh,
Oh, who the hell are you? Oh, Henry. My great friend, Henry. Didn't we have a wonderful time?
Well, you certainly did, you old lecher. Now you better pull yourself together quick. You haven't much time. There's some water and something to eat on the table there, but if I were you, I would move my hairy arse before my flock eats me alive.
Oh, step on in my head. My guts. Oh, my poor suffering stomach. Oh, what was that woman on about? Before my flock eats me alive. I've forgotten something. What have I forgotten?
Where the fuck am I?
What the fuck was it? Oh. Mass! Oh shit, I have to say mass. I gotta say mass. You have to help me.
How? You're the priest.
I can't do it in this state. Maybe the liturgy. But I have to give a sermon as well. Oh, this is a disaster. They're gonna excommunicate me.
I'd like to help you, but...
You can. You can do the sermon for me.
What? So, first I investigate a murder no one wants investigated. Then I drunkenly keep the whole town up all night. And now you want me to preach at them from the pulpit? Do you want them to burn us at the stake?
No. No, I've got it. Suppose that Sir Ratzig's protege. You just came from studying in Prague. And you want to share the words of Master Jan Hus, who you recently heard preaching there. Henry, look. From what I remember, we might have overdone it a bit last night. And if the bailiff or someone else complains about me, the bishop's gonna have my guts for garters. So I'd appreciate it. Stop gaping at me like a stuffed squirrel and start helping.
You're mad. You're stark raving mad.
I'm not. It's a perfect plan. It's flawless. Oh. How about this? If you help me with this, I'll tell you who Lubosh's cronies are.
Well, all right. I can't make any promises about what'll happen.
No, neither can I.
What do you want me to do exactly?
I'll go and start the liturgy. Then I'll introduce you. You give the sermon I told you yesterday in the tap. No need to drag it out. If it turns out well...
Christ almighty.
Wonderful.
never show up. The sweet dog.
Look at him. He can hardly walk after his capers last night.
You were with them, you beast. Just you wait. Look at him. Mother of God, any minute now he'll throw up.
So I couldn't sleep a wink last night with all that clamor.
In nomine Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Accepit panem in sanctas at venerabiles a manus suas. Hoc facite in meam commemorationem. Brothers and sisters, you may have had the honor of meeting Henry from Skalitz, who is here at the behest of Sir Hanush to investigate that heinous crime at Neuhof. You might not know that Henry recently visited Prague, where, by the grace of God, was able to hear Master Jan Hus from the esteemed Charles University preaching. I've managed to persuade Henry to stand here today in my stead and tell us what he heard. Because, as you all probably know, Jan Hus is a very popular preacher in Prague. So, Henry, you may begin.
Now I'm curious which one of them will puke first.
Brothers and sisters, let me get straight to the point. I'd like to talk about the church and how corrupt it is.
That boy has a cheek.
One should not believe in the church, because the church is not God.
He's right.
It is the corruption of God's pastors here on earth that has brought misfortune. The accursed wealth that the church is drowning in is poisoning almost the whole of Christendom. When dogs are fighting over a bone, take the bone and they will stop. Just like the flock of ravens that has descended, they show no mercy. Their hearts are poisoned by covetousness. You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay, and you will have absolution. And the prelates...
For shame! Shame upon them!
And what sins? They live with harlots and keep concubines, even though only marital intercourse for the purpose of procreation is pure. If someone takes a woman or man only to satisfy their own lust, who seduces them to do so but Satan? And how much darker? Who can turn his face to God, who fornicates and then puts on priestly robes?
Nothing we don't know about already.
Enough about sin, which the prelates are so fond of preaching about, and what if the devil himself were to pay? And what about those bishops? They sin without remorse, and with the money grasped from the poor for indulgences, they play dice and garb their mistresses in expensive furs, while Christ, the Lamb of God, look to your consciences, you robbers of the poor, for you are...
Down with the prelates. Away with them.
We're fortunate to have our good Father Godwin. At least he's a fair and simple man.
God sees what is happening on earth, and he is filled with righteous wrath that those who should seek the... Blessed are the shepherds who share the poverty of their flock, who are as one with you, and bear with you the burden of this earthly pilgrimage.
Aye, all honour to Godwin. Let him drink.
That is all I heard in Prague. Amen.
The lad spoke well, considering what a soak he is.
He's right, that was.
The young man shouldn't drink so much, but the Lord's given him a silver tongue.
I don't suppose I'll ever get to Prague. He told it nicely.
Well, well, my boy, you have talent, and I can't deny it. And you pulled a thorn from my side. I almost didn't make it.
Yeah, I noticed. I wasn't the only one.
Oh, what's to be done? I'll make it up somehow.
So, about our bargain.
Although it's a sin.
So gluttony. And fornication.
God does forgive a penitent.
So, what did Limpy Lubosh tell you? Was he at Neuhof that day? Who was with him? And where are they now?
Now slow down. I'm sorry, but he didn't tell me that much.
Don't let me down after all I've been through. For you...
Well, now Lubosh came to me shortly after it happened. His conscience was gnawing at him. And I must say, in the end, he turned out to be a better man than he looked. He said they'd been hired through some crony of theirs. And at first they were just to steal some horses. But then it all turned sour and people started getting killed. And neither he nor his cronies wanted anything to do with that. So they fell out from the gang and fled.
Fell out? Yeah, there was a body found in the woods by Neuhof.
That would explain something. Lubosh kept jabbering that he wasn't a murderer, that he didn't want to do it.
So I know that Lubosh killed the murderer and he's dead too. The trouble is, I need to find the ones who are still alive. I need names and places. Did he mention any of the others?
Only nicknames. Talked about some fella called Riki from Ledechko, Pius, Timmy.
Pius. That lot are about as pious as I am ordained.
Nonsense. You would make an excellent priest. And anyhow, with your skills, you ought to be able to sniff out this Riki from Ledechko, right?
Well, we'll have to now. There's not much else to go on. Let's hope he's not hanging from the wall too.
Indeed. And I'd hate to be excommunicated for nothing. Anyhow, good luck. You watch out for yourself. These people clearly mean business. And I'd like to raise a tankard with you again sometime.
Yeah, I'll try. Although I'm not sure I'd survive another night of your debauchery.
And if anyone should ask, you heard nothing from me. I'll deny everything.
I don't doubt it.